grab your pre-workout and turn up that volume. It is time for a new episode of the Powerlifter's Den with your host, Cam Smith. What's up, Powerlifter's Den family? Want to rep the podcast and look good while doing it? Check out my official merch store at plden.company.site. We've got tees, hoodies, beanies, hats, and more, and gear that'll keep you motivated in and out of the gym. Every purchase helps support me and the podcast and keeps the den growing strong. So whether you're hitting a heavy squat session or just lounging in style, we've got you covered. Head to plden.company.site and grab your merch today. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Powerlifter's Den. I'm your host, Cam Smith, and today I wanted to bring on Micah Marino, founder of Fight or Quit, also one of the co-founders of the American Pro, one of the biggest raw meets in powerlifting. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Micah Marino. Been in powerlifting for quite a bit since 2007. So I also in Las Vegas. I co-own a gym called Fight or Quit Gym. Also, the brand called Fight or Quit. I've done so many meets. Been in powerlifting. I co-run a bunch of events across all federations. Powerlifting America, as actually we're getting into that. So, but USAPL. Now PLU, the American Pro, all those good events. So we've started hosting meets 5 years ago, and we've been kind of pushing the middle ever since. So also done a lot of competing, almost I want to say close to like 30 something meets. Broke some world records, and just still here, man. I'm 34 years old, and I started powerlifting when I was, I don't know, quite young.
Yeah, so we'll get into a little bit about your background, kind of what got you into it. But something I first noticed as when I was looking at your open powerlifting, you've had total in every single type of division, from raw, wrap, single ply, multi, and unlimited. So I guess one of my first questions before we dive into that is through the years and through all these meets, which one in particular kind of has a special place in your heart?
Single ply. I think when I first got started into powerlifting, there was no really raw divisions. We actually made fun of the raw guys. We're like, oh, you can't figure out a deadlift suit, like you can't bench in a bench shirt, So there just was no raw divisions really. So single ply was kind of like, and I think I was the best at single ply. I only honestly switched because that was just what was everyone was doing when I switched to raw. Multiply I just did a couple times just to be like, hey, because back in the day there was a list called the Michael Song's all-time list, which was that was the all-time world record list. And to get on that list, it was top 20 per weight class, whatever, but it didn't have its own category. Like now you have open powers and all that. It was either it was just on there. So whether you were single ply or multiply. So for me to try to get number one and some of the all-time world records, I had to get into the multiply just because the squats were just they were crazy. So but I'm this my favorite one would be, if I had to narrow them down, it'd be single ply, raw with wraps, and then raw. I've only done actually one raw meet in my entire career, and that was in 2016. Broke the all-time at 165 LA Fit Expo. I broke the all-time total at 165, and then that led me to a 5 year off of powerlifting because I had double knee surgery. So
Oh, damn. So with that 5 year or the double knee surgery, what was the cause of that?
I mean, I think just wear and tear. There was no. I started training for a raw meet right after a multiply meet, and I had a really good meet. During that multiply prep, I had like just some like quad things that were going on, and I being young, I didn't really do anything about it, just like whatever. And then it developed in my knee. So after the prep of doing the LA Fit Expo, actually during the warm up room on squats, my knee really started getting aggravated, so I only took my opener squat. And then bench was fine, and then I took two deadlifts, and after my third deadlift, I think I tried to pull seven. I can't remember. I think it was 750, 760. I can't remember at the time. My knees were like, one of them for sure was like, all right. So I ended up, getting MRI and all that good stuff. I obviously had a torn meniscus, whatever. So when they went in, to do surgery. It was supposed to be super easy, no big deal, just going in. Then they ended up finding some other stuff. Like my cartilage was destroyed. They were like, you really don't have any cartilage. I had a bunch of like bone chipped off into my, like, just floating around in there. So they cut a lot of that out. They got rid of my meniscus. They said it was so bad. They're like, we're just going to get it out. And then they did a microfracture where they just like put they basically drill holes into the bone to try to create blood flow that can then maybe create regrowth of cartilage. But ever since then, I don't. I mean, my knees still always kind of bother me. And then I recovered fairly well, and then I was training for the first year of the U.S. Open, and in prep, my last pool, I had the same injury on the other knee, and then that took me out for like 2 years, and same injury but a little worse. Um, and that took me out for about, I mean, that whole gap from, I think I went 2000 in like the end, it was January of 2016, so basically 2015 I didn't compete, and then I think I did another meet, which was the hybrid showdown 2, 3, whatever. I think it was the second one. It was the second one in 2019, 2020. um that was when I did my, I came back and did raw with wraps.
Yeah, so obviously going through injury is something that a lot of powerlifters experience, and for some people it can be more tough than others. For you, what was kind of the maybe some of the difficulties or some of the things that was kind of keeping you from getting back to the platform with your recovery?
Honestly, I mean, it was my first serious injury. I mean, I've had like pec tears and, little things like that, like pec tweaks and stuff like that. So it was my first like severe injury. And at the time, like, social media was just kind of becoming like a big deal on Instagram, and like I had just come off of like an all-time world record. I had pulled 795. At the time it was the multi-ply world record, which I actually think it still
It
stands.
is.
But like
I
who,
just checked.
yeah, yeah. Who? I mean, who cares? John Hack is all those guys are pulling 8+ at 181 raw. So, but still, I mean, that's still a little bit cool. But not since I mean, and that was in 2015. So I it kind of got that kind of was like the first step of like my social media growing, because there was a lot of like trash talk about it, because it was like, oh, you're wearing a suit, oh, which like I was like, so is everyone else. It
Yeah.
was like that trend. That was that year of like raw was 2016 was like, all right, raw is becoming a thing. So I actually did a meet in between that meet I did and multiply. I did a raw meet, because I was just like, everyone was talking trash, and I was like, all right, my social media is growing, my coaching business is growing. I was like, screw it. They had I think the IPL Worlds in Las Vegas, like a couple weeks after my meet that I did in multiply. And at the time, I was not training in raw at all. I was just like, I just totaled like 20, almost 2,200. I'm like, kind of looking at the raw records, and I'm like, what are you guys even talking about? Like these numbers are like, again, I'm just a young kid that's like, these numbers are so small. But again, me not knowing, like, I haven't trained raw like in my whole career, because as soon as I got into powerlifting, it was like single ply, single ply, single ply. So I was like, all right, you know what? Like, I squatted, I think 830 multiply. I was like, all right, so I know I can at least probably squat like almost 700 reps. Da, da, da. So like, that did not happen. I went to the meet. I was like, I don't even think I really trained. I just kind of jumped into the meet, and I was just like, I will, squat, whatever. I think I opened at like 585 or 600, and actually bombed out. So I bombed out, and then I still deadlifted, and I still pulled, I think, 738 or 727. I can't remember, something along those lines. And then that was like that push to be like, I actually got signed by Iron Rebel at the time after the meet. I don't know how I did that after like bombing out, but I think they could see like, all right, this kid is, he hasn't trained raw at all. He just walked in and pulled 738 or 727, like no big deal, which at that time was like, all right, yeah, 181. So then I was like, you know what? I got on powerlifting, and I was like, the raw record all time was like 1660, which my boy Ross Petkoff had. I was like, the all time deadlift record was only like 716. I'm like, I only walk around at like 180, so I'm like, that's an easy cut. Let's do it. I started training for it. I actually doubled 750 like 2 weeks out, and that's kind of when like my knee really was like I was on track to do something a little silly, but my knee just kind of was like, ugh. So yeah, that's kind of as far as like the injury goes. I think I got into like a little disbelief of like I'm okay. I think that's what took me so long to recover is like I didn't actually get surgery until like months later. I was like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'm gonna rehab it. I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna be fine. But within that time frame, it allowed me to really grow my coaching business because I was able to just focus on like coaching people. And at the time, there wasn't coaches like there are today, man. Like there was not many, especially online. And I previously was selling cars, so like I learned a lot about like sales and stuff. And like so every time I had a client, I'm like posting them on Facebook, posting them on Instagram, and it just became like a thing. And like next thing you know, I'm like, holy shit, I have like 150 clients. Like it was crazy. It was like almost it got to a point where I was like, I gotta chill because I'm losing clients because I have so many and I just don't even know where they're at, because I'm forgetting. I'm literally making Instagram videos of me posting, "Hey, my phone number is da 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 da." I mean, it's still on our website because like it's for the gym, but like I didn't care. Like I'd make posts in the caption, my number was going online, and I think that kind of like allowed me to build my coaching business, but also I was able to build my bench up. From like 400 to 500, and then I tore my pec. So I think I just finally was like, you know what? I I want to figure out. I got an MRI, and they were like, yeah, you can live fine with just dealing with the knee pain, and it is what it is. But if we go in there, we'll clean it out, whatever. And then when they went in there, they're like, I woke up, and they're like, yeah, we did a little bit more than we thought we had to do. So like, kind of gave me that like you're kind of SOL from like training heavy. So then I was like, all right, bet. Like now you kind of like lit a fire under my butt telling me I can't do this. I'm definitely gonna do it. And again, I still have like I've gotten like MRIs after like both knee surgeries, and I'm like bone on bone. So I don't know, it's funny because everyone like laughs at the way I walk because I'm pretty straight legged, because like the cartilage is just not existence.
So as far as obviously coming back from injury and stuff, you were able to kind of take advantage of and not just kind of sit and mope. You were able to, like you said, increase your bench press, build your business up. I think one of the interesting things is when the where you came up in powerlifting with being competing in all these divisions and different weight classes, different federations. You kind of got to see, like you said earlier, the shift of kind of like the hatred for equipped. And for me, I feel I could just have a skewed view, but at least in New England, it seems that almost equipped is kind of finally getting that coexistence with Raw again. And for me, being in the sport for about 4 years now, as someone who competes in both, it's interesting to see kind of just what lessons you can take from each one back and forth. And I think people who are set in one or the other should definitely get experience in both.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I mean, it's just also it's really different, it kind of like it's fun to just try to, I mean, people think like, oh, putting on a shirt is easy. I mean, like I've put on the F8, and I like hit like 750, and that like if people truly believe that that's just the shirt doing its thing, then they're just I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. Like, it's still going 750 pounds on your wrist, on your joints. Like, sure, the shirt is definitely going to help you for sure. But I always tell people this. Like, I mean, dude, I used to get into some really bad arguments online when I was younger, and I was just like, bro, you're like trying to take my hard work away from me, and I'm number one. Like, I broke a world record that Eddie Cohn had, which at the time Eddie did it raw, but I'm like no one's touched this in 2 decades. Like and I have it. So like, if you, I would literally tell people, hey, send me your address. I will send you my Della suit, and if you can pull what I pulled, then whatever. If you like, don't take this from me. So I think that's kind of what lit the fire under my butt to like, all right, well, I'm just go do it raw, and then I'm gonna show you guys like what's good. So, but again, I think I think single ply, multiply, multiply is really cool. I just wish the standards were a little bit better, and no, and like it just kind of is what it is. That's kind of why I didn't really want to do multiply. Like, um, I even lately I've seen some stuff that I'm just like, man, like why are there even judges? And I'm not like a crazy like strict judge. Like, I don't judge, but I'm just saying like, as long as the standard's there. But it's like, man, some of these meats like it's not existent, and it's like it kind of takes away from like, if I was new to the sport and I saw that, like, I'm not gonna put myself under nine. Like, honestly, that's why I didn't want to do multiply, because it's like for me to squat 900 pounds, or for me to try to take these world records, I'm gonna have to lower my standards. Now, I'm not saying that that's everyone in multiply. Like, there are some amazing, amazing multiply lifters that like I looked up to. Al Caslow. These are guys that like that. Back in the day, you have some really, really people the reason why I know Al Castle so much, because he would beat me in the meets. So, but just guys, technicians that like really had just beautiful lifts, and that's why I really like the gear side, because like there's no huge strength on that side of the world, man. Like, you got to really figure it out, dude. It's tough, it's not easy. And you know, I can always be that guy where it's like, oh, all the records are da da da. But dude, I've seen some records that are legit. I've seen some that aren't, but I've also seen some that are legit. And in single ply, and that's, I still think like the single ply side has good standards. Again, in some organizations. So, but like, I did another. I went raw, and then I did a meet. If you look on Open Powerlifting, I did a it's under the unlimited category, I think, because, or no, it's not. Sorry, it's single ply. So funny story. I was gonna do a full single ply meet, and then I was doing a raw day, and I tweaked my pec, so I ended up just benching raw in the meet. But I did. Believe it or not, dude, I squatted. I ended up just gaining a bunch of weight, and it was a 220. It was WRPF Nationals. I went single ply. I squatted 887 or 877 or something like that at like 212. And then I benched 452 raw. And then I pulled 760, and then missed like 800 or 790 or whatever. I was capped after that. I was cooked after that big squat. But it was not walked out. It was in a mono single ply. But I didn't realize that it's still kind of up there on like I think top 20 of like all time best squats. In I could be wrong. It could be lower or higher. I don't know. But I think I totaled over 2,000. It was almost 2,100, but I bench raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So, as someone in multiply, what you're saying, I do agree that the standards are kind of some of the biggest faults of why multiply never gets like the, I guess, credibility it deserves. Like you were saying, there's definitely people that do squat to depth, and like there is meets that hold higher standards, but there's always going to be that meet where you can get away with a 3 inch high squat. And like I
you
said,
can do that raw though too, bro. Like, there's raw meets are the same way. Like, it's just sports,
yeah,
Like, it's just sports, and I feel like the accountability should be held on. Like, dude, I have meets where I'm like, probably shouldn't have passed that. But I had an all time world record. It was a raw wraps meet I did in 2014. I jumped into it at 165 with wraps, and I pulled 716 on a second, and there was so much downward motion. But they gave it to me, and it was what it was. I got flamed on a powerlifting watch, which a lot of people don't even know what that is. But it's like I don't know if you're familiar with, have you ever heard of powerlifting watch?
yeah,
So it's like the old version of Open Powerlifting Now. It was its own website. You had to pay to subscribe on it. So that was like what we looked forward to versus going on Instagram. Like if they posted you, you're like, man, I'm the guy this week, but yeah, no, again, that's just all sports, and you hate to take things away from lifters and just, but that's just kind of what multiply has, that look. And sometimes it kind of annoys me because I come from, single ply, I come from the geared world.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like it can get annoying sometimes too, especially when you have people that are in your corner that are competing and like doing it to standard and hitting these monster lifts, and then some people are starting to get away with some things that shouldn't be getting away with. But like you said, that does happen, and it kind of comes down to not necessarily just the judging itself, but kind of the culture of the sport. Like at some point along the way, it's been so indoctrinated to that it hasn't really changed, and I don't see it changing. So you kind of have to. There's a certain point you kind of just have to accept it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like as someone who now gets to host meets, it's kind of one of those things where you're like, I can have a little bit of control of like the standard of what it's going to be when it comes to judging. So that's been something very cool because like what we're trying to do in Las Vegas is create like a high production value, but also like getting lifters on a local level ready for national, world, or whatever level, pro, whatever you want to call it. So that starts with who's sitting in your chairs, as judges. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But still, even at that cost, it's like there's still going to be, I mean, at the end of the day we are humans, and there's still going to be some things that may have been passed that shouldn't have been passed, or vice versa. So I think that comes along with all sports. I mean, there's definitely some meets where it's pretty clear that like they don't know what they're doing and they got the judges from like Starbucks or something, but at least we can try our best to control like what goes on in those chairs. And because a lot of people be like, oh well, it's the lifter, the lifter, and it's like, well, I understand that too. You can train to a certain standard, but man, some people don't even know what the standard is no more if they're new to the sport and they're looking online and this is what they see. So as someone who promotes meets and hosts meets, that's like what we want to try to do is educate the lifter so that they don't get a white or a red light and then go to a different meet and they're like, well, I'm confused because that was my first meet and it was okay there, so why is it, that's kind of what we're trying to like build here in Las Vegas.
yeah, I totally agree. I think and someone who's competed in multiply, like when you have all that shit on, all those tight wraps and all those layers, like you don't know where depth is. You can't. You have to just kind of listen to your call, and if you get the white lights, it's not on you. That's on the judges. That's on your depth call. That's on everyone else. If you're just squatting, I mean, obviously there's other standards like soft knees and all that other shit. But as someone who's hosting a meet of my own in March, like one of the most important things for me is judge selection. And the people that I'm having judge, I ask them, I'm like, hey, are you going to be strict? Are you going to hold them to standard? Because I don't want to have this meet look like a fucking backyard meet.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with social media nowadays, like it's just like, you'll have people where it's like they'll rip you apart on social media and it's like the fingers are pointed to, at the end of the day it's the promoter, right? It's the meet director. It's the guy who's the person who's running the show. They are the ones who have the say of who's sitting in those chairs. And like this past American Pro, I think was our best year as far as judging goes. We handpicked all the judges, me and Anna, and I think there was some people saying that calls were a little too strict, but I think across the board it was our most consistent event we've done as the American Pro. So it was, and also like as far as levels go, you have level judges, but at the same time, my level and your level could be the same, but we're judging differently. So but that's just like NFL refs or whatever. So it could be a little different.
Yeah, it's a good segue to maybe talk about the American Pro. Let's start with where the idea came from and kind of the origins behind it.
So the American Pro actually was, full disclosure, Ana Perez. She's the president of the PLU. federation now. She's the my partner in it, and before the first one, we'd known each other. We were cool social media friends. We probably seen each other at some meets, and she had hit me up. Um, I can't remember. I think we were just like bullshitting on Instagram about meets and da da da. And she, was saying, I think I was trying to convince her to like come out to Vegas to do a meet. Our production value is super cool. Like we're doing things different. We're trying to like change the game and build our own standard and da 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 da. Which we did that. And she was like, "Yo, so like, are you free for a call or whatever?" I think that's what it was, or something. We were just going back and forth. And she's like, "Yo, I have this, this venue that I want to show you. Like like reached out to a couple other people and they don't see it. They don't see the vision that I see." And she sent me the videos and the pictures, and I just was like, "Oh, I think that's when I said, yo, let's hop on a call." So we did that and we got on a call, and I was like, "Yo, like this is an awesome venue. Like what's good?" And we started talking, and I mean, we talked for like that, and I was like, "Let's do it." I'm in Las Vegas, but that venue's in Virginia. I'm like, let's. She flew me out. I think like 2 weeks later, she flew me out, and we went to the venue, we sat down. Then the name, it's funny the way the name came. We're like, all right, we know what we want to do. We want to host the biggest, baddest raw meat in the world, whatever, on the non-tested side. Because it was the first year was just non-tested. So we're like, all right, let's come up with a cool name, da da da. So like she drops me off at my hotel. I'm like in the shower, and I like say whatever. I'm like throwing names like American this or that or whatever, and she's texting me. We're going back and forth, and then I like said it in the shower. I'm like American Pro, and then I said something else like the Pro whatever, and then I was like, wait, what I just say? And then like I immediately jump out of the shower and I text her and I'm like, yo, I have something to tell you. And then she got here like soon as I opened the door in her car to come pick me up. I think we were going to do something else. Oh, we were going to the gym that's close to there to look. Like we were just planning, right? And I opened the door and I just screamed in her car. I'm like, the American Pro. And she was like, whoa, like, yeah. She's like, that's it. And then from there it was just planning. And I think we planned for like 9 months, dude, on that event for the first one. And we just were like, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to just go all out. And I mean, I still think the American Pro won. Uh, I mean, I think it changed the non-tested side of powerlifting across the board. If you weren't there, you heard about it. If you were there, you were like, "What is this?" And then year two was cool too. We added the drug tested division, and then year two was our biggest year as far as like most spectators, the most vendors. That was the first year we added sessions, so it kind of like seemed like it was smaller because like year one everyone was together, man. We had an 8 hour meet, and then that's when that shift of like, all right, we don't like long days anymore, so let's do sessions. So we're like, okay, we'll give you guys what you want. And then it was like, all right, well, it kind of watered down the spectators a little bit because year one, bro, I promise you, like there was a video somewhere, I wish I had it, but that I saw of Danny Grisby taking 1,075 on a second attempt or third attempt. And he's walking down the red carpet. We stop the music, last pull, world record. I mean, it's 1,075, 1,076, whatever. It We just tell everyone to get out their flashlights on their phone, and like I swear, bro, it literally looked like you're in a concert venue, and it's just people were going crazy, wall to wall. Like you couldn't even fit through, like getting through people. Like it was crazy packed, and he pulled 1,075, and we held his hand up, and he literally was like, "I just felt like a movie star." Like he's like, or or a rock star. And year two when we did sessions, like just talking to some of the athletes, they're like, yeah, it was cool, but like it just seemed like there wasn't as many spectators. But actually, like we did like over that weekend, we did I mean, it was a like at one day I think we hit capacity at the venue, which was like unheard of. Like you've been to venues where you might see two, three, 400 people, but like I think we had like at one day, I think we sold over like 1,200 spectator tickets for one day is a lot, you know. I mean, obviously it's not Sheffield, but for the non-tested side on powerlifting, like what? You know, it was pretty intense. And then year three, the one we just did, we changed the venue, we changed a lot of things of year three, and spectator wise, it was probably our lowest spectators as far as just how many attended because you know, we shrunk the roster. We made it a lot harder to get into. We wanted to make it a little more competitive, so that's what we did. I still think it was a great event. I mean, all around, like year one and two, man, like we were running around, going crazy, like trying to make sure everything was good. But by year three, I think we kind of got it down to where it was like, even though me and Anna were still going, rolling around, making sure everything was good, but I think we were able to kind of just sit back a little and be visualize of what was going on of like not having to be here or there. I mean, we still had to do that for, but the majority of the time there were some times where we were actually getting to stand back and then take it in and watch, make our spotters and loaders, they knew what they were doing. Our judges, they knew what they're doing. It was our first time having a jury. They knew what they were doing. The people in the warm-up room, like the score table, like everyone who was doing their job, we it was our first time where we were like, we don't have to go worry about the spotters. They got it. We don't have to. Year two, it was great too. Like we had a lot of help in the warm-up room, and on the platform. But I think by year three, like the crew was just it was year two, we had too many staff people there. So still great, it was just a little too much. In year three, we shrunk it down to like maybe 15 or something like that, maybe a little bit more. And it was just like everyone did their part. I was super proud of everyone. It was cool to be a part of that. At the end of the day, dude, like I'm just a meathead that loves powerlifting. So, it's like being able to be a part of that, let alone like being, the co-founder on that is a pretty cool feeling, being just a meathead that started powerlifting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think one of the tricky things with powerlifting is the fact that if you're not in it, it's boring. It's boring to watch. You don't really know what you're doing. Like, you don't really know what you're watching. You can't really comprehend the weights being lifted, especially in equipped where it's like over 1,000 pounds and shit like that. But I think meets like the American Pro, Ghost Clash, and like this past Reach Rumble where they have production value behind it on top of like these elite level lifters. It really helps bring in people outside of the sport and not only makes it more exciting for the people in the sport to watch, but it may get a new viewer that brings in someone into powerlifting, and it kind of helps grow the sport in a way that just local meets can't do.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a huge thing that and that's what we're trying to do on our local level events in Las Vegas is give, give each athlete a moment that where if this is their first meet and this is what they're coming into and they're like when they leave they're like this is like I'm signing up for another meet because how do we grow the sport, right? It's not at the pro level. I think it's at the local level where if sure, if the pro level meets keep getting cooler and cooler, it may pull in lifters from different sports, CrossFit, bodybuilding, where they're like, oh shoot, I have a chance to win some money. Like I mean, the guy who won the American Pro in sleeves, Kyle. I'm pretty sure his name was Kyle. He came from bodybuilding, pro bodybuilder, monster, dude. Like it was his third meet, bro, and he broke the all-time world record. I think he went over 2,400.
Oh, shit.
I mean, bro, it was squatted. I want to say 9 plus, bench 633, just barely missed. 913 pulled raw. Like what?
Yeah.
These are geared numbers, bro. And he did raw in his third meet. Like, and he comes from the bodybuilding world, and he was like, man, this is so fun. This was cool. Like, so getting more people like that, but also I think it starts from like that first meet you get to do. Like, Like, because if you come in and you do your first meet and it's just like a lollygag meet and it's terrible, and like, why would I want to pay another 130? I mean, dude, like meats are not getting any cheaper. Media is expensive, like all of that. You could spend 500 bucks on a meet. I know that doesn't compare to bodybuilding, but you could, between the media and that's not including traveling, like it's not cheap. And so it's our job as promoters and meet directors and athletes to make sure that when they as soon as they walk in the door, they're like, okay, this is cool. Like, this is fun. This is cool. That's why we, in Las Vegas, we try, even though it's in a gym, we still try to add a little bit of something. So it's like, oh, like this is what powerlifting is like. Let's go.
So for you, between the local meets that you host as well as the American Pro, maybe over the past three, what are some of the things that you really liked that you incorporated, and then some of the things that you kind of got rid of over the years?
For the American Pro, things that we really liked. Um, well, I mean, that's kind of a tough question because honestly, there's nothing that I can say that I disliked. I just think that we try to improve. So, like things like we might be like, hey, let's do this a little different, or like as far as like production goes, let's like this year we did a little different. We added instead of walking from the sides of the platform, you walked straight from the middle. And we added stairs, and everyone was worried about the
Yep.
stairs, like are they going to fall? But we thought about that. We're like, well, each year we try to do something a little bit different, and we got some very like high industrial stairs because we knew we got some big guys. And but for the most part, everyone was like, they like when you walk up and you see it, it's like, ugh, stairs. But then when you're walking, you're up on that stage, and the way we had the video walls set, it was like you're up. Like one guy told me, he was like, man, I felt like I was coming down from like being like in the WWE event where I'm like up there and I'm like, I can see everyone up top, and kind of come down. So will we add stairs again? Maybe not. I don't know. I told people we're gonna add an elevator, or because last year we added the red carpet. The first year we added a red carpet. The second year we added an LED video wall that was red carpet. This year we added a smaller LED red carpet, but then it led to stairs straight onto the platform. Versus like every meet you go to, they're coming from the sides. So media wise, it's like if you watch WWE or MMA, they walk down the ramp and they go straight onto the in the ring or whatever. So I'm actually going to do that on my local level meets. I started that. It's actually funny because I saw it initially, saw it when me and Anna were talking about the American Pro, like what are we going to do, how are we going to set up the production. We knew it was a different venue. um so I saw it watching the Olympics. That's how they kind of walked out, is through, they had a back wall and then they had this and they walked out. And I was like, oh, hey, what do you think about this? We had it angled to the side. And then she was like, well, what if we put it in the middle? And then they walked straight down. I was like, you know what? That'd actually be a little bit different because usually you just see the banner in the back and then the lifters come from the side. So I tested it out at hosting a meet at the Olympia. We did it. We just put the truss and they came out, and it was super sick, like because you're walking straight onto the platform, like it's like bam, I'm right there, versus like from the side you can't really see the crowd, so. But as far as like things that, I mean, honestly, man, the moments that I've gotten from all of them have, I mean, I think times just change, man, year after year. Like year one, like it was powerlifting. I mean, I think between year one and year two, man, powerlifting was just, it was going, man. It was like, and it was just like I think we kind of set the standard after year one, and everyone was like, all right, well, what's year two gonna be? And we're like, all right, well, we're adding a tested day. And I tell you what, man, the tested day was crazy year two. Like it was, I mean, you had some guys that were insane. And year three, they were still guys 560 dots, like That's pretty crazy, drug free, let alone in sleeves, So I think we're probably gonna, talk about maybe not doing wraps if we do it again next year, or what our plan is. Me and Anna been, because this year it was really, really like the rap division. Year two, bro, we had year one and two, we had full days of raps. Year two, the best women's showdown ever in powerlifting. I don't care what anyone says, and I'm pretty sure everyone will agree with this. When we had the women's rap, Christy Hawkins, Brianni Terry, Sam Rice, Sarah, we had Denise. I mean, it was. I mean, there's so many other girls too. Like, if you the prime time last year for the girls in raps was like 600 was like minimum,
Yeah.
it was insane. I mean, it was probably the coolest, and they stole the show for sure. I mean, you also had a lot of other big guys, world records, obviously you had the, John Hack doing his thing, you had obviously Danny Grisby was there. But man, as far as like head to head battles, like that was something crazy to see. I mean, it was like I think on the dead list it was like uh Sarah, who initially had the world record years and years ago. She Tamra broke it at, I think, the American Pro 1, and then Sarah like didn't powerlift for a while. She came back to a local meet here in Las Vegas, the FQ Classic. I can't remember, 2, 3, whatever. And she broke her record, and then they all were training for it. Tamra, Sarah, Denise, Sam Rice, Brianni Terry, we're all Christy Hawkins. We're all 600-pound pullers, bro. Like, so, and then, unfortunately, Tamara tore her pec, so she wasn't able to compete. So she kind of had to like be able to be out of it, and see these other girls kind of come in. Now she's back and she's killing it. So that's cool to see. But I mean, dude, it was the second attempts, it was like Denise pulled 617. Then Sam Rice world record, Brianni Terry world record. Like Sarah tried the world record. Like it was just like everyone was just like, what the hell, dude? It was really cool to see as just being there as a like quote unquote spectator. But I don't know. I think things that we would maybe change or not do is, I don't know. We want to try to make it like a competitive thing, and that's it, where there's head to head battles, and that's just really hard to do, man. And on the non tested side, just because there's so many options, right? Like, how do we get powerlifting on the non-tested side like the Sheffield, because no one's touching the Sheffield right now. I mean, bro, they sell out, I think, like 17,000. I could be wrong. It could be 7. I think it's 7,000, but 17 is a pretty aggressive number, but I'm pretty sure it's 7,000. But still, like, that's unheard of. So how do we do that, but it's really hard to do that when you have so many options, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying that, like, you know don't have options on the line and give opportunities, but you know it's like the lifters are in competition with wherever there's going to be some kind of money payouts, right? Or, but how do we get that on the same field, and it's just straight up competition, kind of like how the Reach Rumble was. It was there was a lot of head to heads going on, and that was pretty dope, so, but to see that across the board, with female male on, at the American Pro 4, would be pretty dope to see, non-tested and tested, so we're definitely it's definitely going to be different, again, but I will say, me as being, just me, is having something that you can have a ton of people there, and but that's kind of not really where powerlifting is right now. Where because to have a ton of people there, you're going to need a ton of lifters, right? And 60 to 80 lifter meets on the pro level are not really. That's from what I hear. It's just not really what people want. I mean, Alex does a great job with the Ghost Clash of how he does it, but it's still sessions. Um, and so that I think that's why year 1 and 2 had such a good turnout is because we had so many lifters. Year 3, we had day 1, I think we had 30 lifters. They were badasses, but still it was shrunk in half, so
Yeah, and I think things like that, the deadlift battle with going back and forth with records like that, was what makes things exciting. And I'm interested to see kind of what it evolves into over the next few years, kind of what you guys have in store for next year. I think before we kind of wrap things up, maybe tell us a little bit about Fight or Quit, both as the gym and the brand, and kind of how you started that and what some of the goals are.
so Fight or Quit initially started. I'm co-owner with that with Steph Powell, who is also a power lifter as well. So that brand started in 2017. I did online coaching before that, and we decided like, hey, let's get some t-shirts, let's do that. Da, 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 da. So we linked up with Feed Me Fight Me, which is an old brand. One of my mentors in the screen printing world, and kind of taught me everything I knew when it came to um, you know trying to build a clothing company. Um, they fulfilled our orders for us, and they kind of helped us out a lot. And eventually we were like, you know what, hey, let's get our own stuff. So we started screen printing in a garage, and then I think right before COVID happened, we got kind of tired of like you know being in a like I don't know, man. It was like our the gym vibe that we had was awesome, but like there wasn't a community, really, because we went to like a bodybuilding gym, so. And I grew up in a state where like we had a community, so we decided, hey, I have like 30 clients that are in Las Vegas. We need space anyways for our clothes. So but I don't want to pay rent because that would suck. So what if we get 30 members and it pays for a building? We get a little tiny little place, and it pays for the building, and that's just like a free building, So that was what we did. I think 2020, like right when COVID happened or whatever. Um, and then or 20, whatever, I don't know at this point. And then we kind of grew pretty fast, and now we're in a bigger building and stuff like that. We just been hosting meets. We've been doing a lot of stuff. We've actually kind of slowed down on the apparel side, with the actual brand itself. We used to do drops every month, but it's just with anything, man. I think things get like that industry is tough. Clothing is tough. I mean, nowadays, like, again, it's just like coaching, man. Like, when I first started coaching, I could think of 7 coaches off my hand. Now I could think of 7,000
Yeah,
coaches. So same thing with clothing. It's a lot harder. It's like every big influencer has their own brand. Um, so and we've really enjoyed building the gym and the community in the gym. So that's kind of like where our main focus is right now. And that's kind of what we want to do. We want to grow into a bigger facility and kind of open the doors up and build. Like, we're in Las Vegas, man, and people don't understand Las Vegas is small.
yeah,
Um so how do we grow a powerlifting gym when you're in such a small place, so it's based off the community and getting new lifters in the door. So that's why we take pride in like our events and stuff like that, because if every meet has 5 new lifters, well, guess what? If they're from Las Vegas, they need a gym to eventually train in, So that's kind of my thing. Like, it's like I'm real big in 2025 on building the state, on the local level. Obviously, with the American Pro, and we host USAPL regionals as well, which this year is massive. Well, next year, we're getting 12 states, so we're running that, but. I think it all plays a role on like, well, if we can get new lifters on board, uh, where are they going to train? So trying to build the gym up, do cooler things in the gym, build a community. And I always tell people, it's not really a gym for me. It's a place where I go to be around people that I care about. I know everyone at the gym. There's been some gyms probably in your lifetime that you're like, who's the owner of this place? And those are like not big commercial gyms like that. I understand, but just like who runs this joint? I've been a member here. I ain't never seen the owner. So I get I'm fortunate enough to actually get to train there as well and train with the members and be, I don't know, I'm on this kick of like community over everything right now, and that's kind of just my vibe. And that's kind of what I just want to continue to build is a place where, because man, if we rewind to before we started hosting meets in Nevada, USAPL had like all of Nevada had less than 30 members across the whole state. Now there's like 200. So it's like that's just within a couple of years. Where are we going to be in by year 10? Can we break 1,000? Probably not, because just the size of our state. But still, it's like, and also like with the split between USAPL and Powerlifting America. So, but still, it's like as long as we can get more people in the door, that's our main goal, and get them to compete, get them to. Because if you've been to my gym, you'll know right away that we're a strictly powerlifting gym. We don't have like all the sports involved or all the it's a one thing, it's a one-stop shop. I think eventually if we grew into like a bigger space, we may like have sections, but I think that's why our community is so cool, because we have 15 combo racks. When you walk in the gym, you're like, everyone is just everywhere and they're all doing the same thing, so you never have to worry about like, well, what is he doing, what are they doing over there, so that's kind of the main goal, man, right now, is to really build the gym and keep getting people in the door and seeing what we could do.
Yeah, and I think that community is definitely the most important aspect of powerlifting. It's something that needs to be ingrained in every gym owner, meet director's, competitor's mind, and it's nice seeing someone that shares that same mindset. But I think we can kind of wrap things up here. So I'll ask you my final question: if you could give a new lifter, maybe someone going into their first meet, a word of advice, what would that be?
I mean, I'll try to keep this as short as possible. Just I mean, I've been in powerlifting since 2007. I got into powerlifting because it's what my dad did, and I've always trained. So like being strong just meant a lot to me, and it for me it was different because it kind of like saved my life. Because a lot of the people that I grew up with, like lost my brother to heroin, so and all these things that I could have maybe have chose to do, but I wanted to go to the gym, as corny as that is. But I think so I kind of like forced myself to do this, and I think it kind of got me into a point where I eventually hated it because I like had to do it. But for a first time lifter, like, man, I'll tell you right now, I've done meets since 2007, and right now I'm 1 week out from doing my first meet back in 10 years from sleeves. And I just tweaked my hamstring yesterday squatting, and I should be okay to do the meet. I'm never one to say like push through an injury, but also like listen to your body, and if you're okay, you're okay. But I'm nowhere near where I've been, but I'm gonna go do it because I know I'm gonna have fun with people I care about. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think a lot of us forget about that. Um, I mean, yeah, some people call powerlifting a hobby, but we do take a lot of time and energy, and we change our life to do this, even if it's a first time meet. But I think at the end of the day, if you just go in and have a good time and talk to people, you will be guaranteed to meet probably your next best friend at your first powerlifting meet, and I think that's the most important thing. Cool, hitting numbers are cool, man, like hitting PRs, it's the best feeling in the world. But I promise this, if you ask someone that's done one of our meets, especially our meet called Bad Bitches Only, if you ask one of the girls how their meet went, they will tell you it was just the experience. may not even talk about the numbers unless you ask. And I think that's the most important thing. So having fun, a lot of people just say, "Oh, go have fun," and da da da, and don't open too high. I mean, like, hire a coach first off, but if you can't afford that, then just, yeah, don't open up too high, but also like go there for the experience that you're gonna get. And your next best friend is waiting for you at your next powerlifting meet. If you haven't done one, you got to do one. If you're training for a powerlifting meet and you're waiting till you're ready, I've been powerlifting since '07. I'm still not ready. So good luck.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think kind of what you said at the beginning with finding your why is a very important part of powerlifting, as well as being able to absorb the experience more than just focusing on the numbers. Well,
Exactly.
I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to come on. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And uh, yeah, man, it was a good time.
Attention lifters, are you ready to crush your next training session? Then you need Reach pre workout in your corner. With clean energy, laser sharp focus, and no crash, Reach is your ticket to smashing PRs and hitting new goals. And because you're a part of the Powerlifters Den community, you get an exclusive 10% off. Just use the code PLDEN at checkout. That's PLDEN for 10% off your order. Don't settle for average, reach for greatness with Reach pre workout. Your goals are waiting for you. Are you ready to grab them?